David Pakman over at the David Pakman Show reported on an amazing story regarding the TPP that I actually missed. So this is really important. Let's listen.
The texts of TPP and its European counterpart, TTIP, have been made even more secret. The European Commission is making the TTIP deal even more secret by having put in place a new rule which says that politicians need to go to a secure reading room in Brussels, Belgium, to look at the text. An investigation by German news site Corrective has revealed that the Commission is cracking down on TTIP security after there were a bunch of leaks, supposedly by EU member states, who had accessed information on the deal electronically. And it is not just TPP that is experiencing this. The U.S.-Asian equivalent, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, we've been talking about it for months, now is also using the super secure reading room idea. Robert Smith, who's host of the Planet Money podcast on NPR, said, quote, "In Washington, D.C., they love secrecy, but even by Washington standards, this amazed me. In the basement of the U.S. Capitol, there is a room, a locked, soundproof room. The only people allowed in the room are U.S. senators, and they can't bring in their assistants. They can't bring in their phones. They can't even take notes there. Inside the room is not the codes for our nuclear weapons. It's not CIA files. It's not the documents that tell us aliens landed in Roswell. No, in this room is the text of a trade deal." If corporations are not allowed to secretly meet to conspire against the public, price fixing being one example, why is it okay for elected officials? No democratically elected official should be voting on anything that the people they represent can't have full access to read and review and comment on unless there are specific national security reasons for secrecy. But we're just told, Lewis, that this is just a great trade deal that's going to be great for consumers and voters and everybody. If that's the case, shouldn't the constituents get a chance to read and opine and open?
Yeah. 100% they're hiding it because it's bad for Americans and good for corporate interests. And the whole idea of a constitutional republic and a representative democracy is that we pay them and they take up our issues. So whatever we collectively want to do, as long as it doesn't violate the Constitution, they should be implementing our will, and of course they should be open about what they're doing. We're their bosses! The idea that somebody who's under you technically tells you, no, I'm not going to have full transparency and I'm not going to let you see what I'm doing. I'm your fucking boss. What are you talking about? I mean, that's a crazy thing to have in place. It's lunacy. And understand, guys, from the leaks that we already have, from WikiLeaks actually, on the TPP, here's what we know. It's going to cost us thousands of jobs. Now, that's not only from WikiLeaks, that's also from a report from the Economic Policy Institute. We're going to reward Malaysia in this deal. For those of you who don't know, Malaysia has been under fire recently because they tolerate slave labor. So we're going to reward a country that does slave labor because we care so deeply about freedom and democracy. And of course, it's going to reward Brunei, or Brunei, however you pronounce it. I apologize. People always correct me when I say it. My bad for still not knowing exactly how to say it. I think you could say it either way. But we're going to reward Brunei, and the problem with Brunei is, in 2014, they just implemented Sharia law. See, this is a point that, it drives me fucking crazy that nobody else makes it, which is that we said we need to go do the war in Afghanistan, not only to get Al-Qaeda because the Taliban is, holding Al-Qaeda, but we need to liberate the Afghani people because we don't want them living under, Taliban-enforced Sharia law. So we went to war to stop Sharia law and to bring democracy to a region. And then just recently we're like, okay, Malaysia, you went in on this trade deal? You can make a lot of money if you do it. Yeah, but we just implemented Sharia law. Is it cool if we still get in? The government's like, oh yeah, no problem. We got nothing against Sharia law. What are you talking about? We're friends with Saudi. Look at that. They do Sharia nonstop. We know as long as you guys like us, you get to do whatever the fuck you want, no matter how brutal and vicious to your own population. So the main takeaway from this story is that the government is not doing what you want it to do. A lot of people are like, duh. No, but the point is, it's totally corrupt. It's corrupt by design at this point. With all the money in the political system, You have legal bribery, and you have the multinational corporations and the billionaires that run the place to the point where the politicians are such puppets that if the corporations say, hey, I want to exploit slave labor in Malaysia, the politicians go, right on. Even the so-called liberal Democrats, because Obama was on this side as well. Like, oh, okay, don't look at the Malaysian slavery. How ironic, the first black president is like, slavery? If it's in Malaysia, whatevs, dude. I mean, think about how insane that is. Think about how deeply corrupt the system is when even the so-called liberals are like, as long as the slavery is happening overseas, hey, man, it's going to lead to possibly cheap underwear that I can buy at Costco. Or not Costco, they actually do a good job. Walmart, what the fuck? No. This is beyond ridiculous. And of course, the final thing I'll mention on this is the TPP allows for corporations to sue for loss of, quote, expected future profits. That's insane. That's insane. So they can shake down governments for money that they think they should have made. It's like an unlimited Wall Street bailout scenario. You know how when the crash happened, it was largely the fault of Wall Street, and then many Wall Street companies went to the government and said, okay, now you bail me out. And the government was like, okay, you gave us campaign contributions. Sure. This is like that built into the system. And also, it makes it so that some governments are now on equal legal footing to corporations. So instead of, let's say, just to pick on Walmart again, let's say Walmart goes into Malaysia, and Malaysia says, you know what, let's actually regulate them. Let's say no child labor. Let's say you can't dump those chemicals in the river, yada, yada. Walmart, under the TPP, has a right to say to the Malaysian government, we disagree. Now, that's not the way governments are supposed to work. Of course, it's supposed to be when a law is passed, people and corporations and companies have to abide by it. The TPP makes it so that that's not the case. You know what would happen under the TPP? You would have to have the Malaysian government and the corporation go to an international tribunal, and the tribunal would decide who's right, whether or not this is burdensome regulations or not. So, in reality, what are you doing under the TPP? Taking away the sovereignty of governments all around the world. So you know how, Alex Jones screams about, sovereignty, they're coming for your sovereignty. In this case, it happens to be true. In this case, now, it depends on which country you're talking about, because it's different for different countries under the deal. But overall, that is true, that you have to sacrifice sovereignty to an international tribunal. And who gets to pick the international tribunal? You ready for this? The corporations. So the corporations are going to tell governments, we disagree, and our corporate buddies who we pay just told us it's cool that we disagree, so none of your regulations count. So now we get to do whatever the fuck we want. This really is a system of corporate fascism that we're setting up, which is why they have to do all this work in so much secrecy, because they know the more provisions get released, the more the American people are going to say, fuck no, not interested in that.